Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready for another deep dive?
Definitely. Always ready to explore.
Today we're tackling a topic that's close to my heart. Faith and mental health. Specifically, what insights and support can we find within Christian teachings?
That's a rich area to dive into. So many layers.
We've got scripture, theological writings, even some modern research to draw from. Should be fascinating to see what connections we uncover.
Absolutely. And it's important to acknowledge right up front, mental health is a multifaceted topic.
So true. We're focusing on one particular faith perspective today.
Right. And even within these sources, it's interesting how they go beyond simply defining mental health.
Oh, definitely. It's not just about feeling happy all the time, is it?
Not at all. They dive into why it matters on such a fundamental level, emphasizing its importance for our overall well-being.
Yes. It's like they're saying mental health isn't some separate compartment, but rather it's woven into everything.
Where emotions, thoughts, how we handle stress, even the relationships we build.
It impacts how we navigate the world around us, doesn't it?
Precisely. And what's fascinating is how these sources connect this understanding of mental health with faith itself.
I was struck by this idea of God's constant presence, especially during tough times. Like in Psalm 34.1 second and 18, it talks about God being close to the brokenhearted.
Mm, a powerful image. God hearing our cries, being there in the midst of it all.
That sense of never truly being alone, no matter what we're facing.
It's like having this source of comfort and strength that's always accessible. Speaking of which prayer, these sources explore it in such a nuanced way.
Yeah, it's not just about asking for things, right? It's about a deeper dialogue.
Exactly, a back and forth, pouring out our hearts, seeking guidance.
Like in Philippians 4.67, where it encourages us to replace anxiety with prayer.
Replacing anxiety with that focused, intentional communication with God, and it's not just a solitary endeavor either.
That's where community comes in, right?
Yes, the sources emphasize the vital role of community within the Christian faith, especially for mental well-being.
It's like a support system, like that idea in Galatians 6.2 about carrying each other's burdens.
Not meant to go it alone, a faith community offers encouragement, a sense of belonging, practical help when needed.
All those things are so essential when facing mental health challenges. You know what I found particularly compelling? How the sources bring in examples from the Bible itself.
Oh, interesting. Makes those ancient texts feel so relevant today.
Like the story of Elijah in 1 Kings 19. Here's a prophet chosen by God, yet he's utterly overwhelmed, even wishing for death.
Wow, that's raw. Shows that these struggles are part of the human experience, even for those we consider heroes of faith.
And God's response is so striking. Not judgment, but compassion.
Provides Elijah with rest, food, gentle encouragement. Shows us a model for how to care for ourselves and others during tough times.
Absolutely. And then there's David pouring out his heart in the Psalms. So much raw emotion there. In Psalm 42.11, he even questions his own soul. Why are you downcast, he asks.
That phrase, downcast soul, it really captures that deep despondency many of us can relate to. But David models something powerful for us.
What's that?
Expressing those raw emotions to God, he doesn't shy away from the darkness, but brings it all to the light.
It's like he's giving us permission, to be honest, to acknowledge the struggles without pretending everything's fine.
Yes, exactly.
And even Jesus, in his human form, experienced profound emotional suffering. Think about the Garden of Gethsemane.
Oh, such a powerful example. Jesus, knowing what was to come, cries out, "My soul is overwhelmed with sorrow."
Even he felt that weight of human anguish. It reminds us that seeking solace, seeking connection with God is a universal need.
It really is. And the sources go on to highlight specific Bible verses, chosen for their ability to offer comfort and strength during those difficult times.
I love that they provide that kind of guidance. It's like having a trusted friend point you towards just the right words at just the right moment.
Exactly. And speaking of guidance, in the next part of our deep dive, we'll explore some of these verses in more detail and see how they can be applied to our daily lives.
Sounds good. Can't wait to dig in further. So which verse jumps out at you as a good starting point?
Well, how about Isaiah 41.10? It's a
No.
powerful one. Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand.
Yeah, I love that image of being upheld by God's hand. It's like this sense of strength that goes beyond our own, a reminder that we're not alone in those moments of fear and doubt.
And then you have Psalm 56.3. When I am afraid, I put my trust in you. It encourages that shift in perspective.
From fear to trust, acknowledging those feelings, but choosing to place our confidence in something greater than ourselves.
Right. And one more that stood out to me is 1 Peter 5.7, casting all your anxieties on him because he cares for you. It's almost like giving ourselves permission to let go.
To release those burdens we're carrying, because we know, ultimately, God cares. It's not about denying the anxieties exist, but finding a healthier way to process them.
Exactly. And beyond these words of comfort, the sources also point to practical steps we can take, ways to integrate faith into our daily lives to support our mental well-being.
I was glad to see they went beyond just theory and offered some tangible tools.
Yeah.
What are some of the practices they highlight?
Well, a really fundamental one is daily prayer and meditation, intentionally setting aside time to connect with God.
Doesn't have to be anything formal or complicated.
Not at all. Could be just sitting quietly for a few minutes, focusing on your breath, bringing your attention to God's presence.
And what's great is you can really tailor it to fit your own life.
And I find the practice of gratitude so valuable in prayer. Even when things are tough, taking a few moments to appreciate the good can really shift your perspective.
There's actually a lot of research now about the positive impact of gratitude on mental health.
It helps to rewire our brains in a way.
Mhm.
Less focus on the negative, more on the positive.
And it's not just about expressing gratitude, right? It's also bringing our burdens to God, our fears, our hopes. That honesty is so freeing.
It is. And another practice they highlight is scripture reflection. Choosing passages that resonate with you and really spending time with them.
Like having a conversation with the text. And the meaning can evolve over time, depending on what you're going through.
Right, always something new to uncover. And journaling can be a helpful tool for that.
Yeah, to write down your reflections, make those personal connections.
And speaking of connection, community plays a huge role too. Engaging with others who share your faith.
It provides a sense of belonging, like you're not alone in this.
The sources specifically talk about joining a church group or Bible study.
I think any space where you can share openly, offer, and receive support, that's so valuable.
Right, like a safety net. And then there's the creative outlet. The sources talk about that a lot.
I love that aspect. Things like painting, music, writing, all those creative endeavors can be so therapeutic.
A way to process emotions, connect with your spirituality in a different way.
And let's not forget physical activity. The sources emphasize that too, taking care of our bodies.
Right. God gave us these bodies to care for, and exercise can do wonders for our mood.
It's not about trying to achieve some perfect physique. It's about finding activities you enjoy and that make you feel good.
Even a simple walk in nature can be so grounding. And then you have those more vigorous activities like running, swimming, team sports.
It's about finding what works for you. And then, of course, the sources acknowledge the importance of professional support, too.
If you're facing some really tough mental health challenges, seeking guidance from a Christian counselor can be so beneficial.
That combination of faith and evidence-based practices.
They can work together beautifully. And I think it's important to remember that seeking professional help doesn't diminish your faith at all. If anything, it can enhance it.
And honestly, there can still be a stigma around mental health, even within faith communities. I think these sources do a good job of normalizing it, encouraging people to reach out for support when they need it.
Absolutely. No shame in seeking help. It's a sign of strength, not weakness. And, I love how all of these practices are presented as part of a holistic approach.
Like a tapestry, with all these different threads woven together.
And speaking of beautiful insights, for the final part of our deep dive, we'll hear from some prominent Christian thinkers. Their words offer such a unique perspective on this connection between faith and well-being.
Looking forward to that. So many insightful thinkers to choose from. Where do we even begin?
Well, one quote that really resonated with me comes from C.S. Lewis.
Oh, C.S. Lewis. Always a good place to start.
He said, "Prayer doesn't change God, it changes us."
Powerful stuff. It makes you think about prayer in a whole new light, doesn't it?
It really does. It's not about trying to manipulate or bargain with God.
Right. It's about that inward transformation, opening ourselves to His presence,
Allowing His peace to flow in, gaining a new perspective on things.
finding comfort, finding hope. And the sources also highlight Henri Nouwen.
Oh, Nguyen. He had such a profound understanding of the human spirit.
Really did. What struck me about his writings was his emphasis on both solitude and community,
Yes, he saw the value in both, spending time alone with God.
nurturing that individual connection, but also recognizing we're not meant to be isolated.
Community offers a different kind of support, doesn't it?
Absolutely. That sense of belonging, of being understood. And I think Nguyen's insights tie in beautifully with what we've been exploring throughout this whole deep dive.
It's all connected, isn't it?
The comfort of God's presence, the power of prayer, the strength we find in community, and then those practical steps we can take.
Daily prayer, scripture reflection, even things like creative expression and exercise, and of course, seeking professional help when needed.
It's about finding that balance, weaving together all these different elements to nurture our well-being, mind, body, and spirit. I think that's a good place to wrap things up, don't you?
Yeah, it feels like we've come full circle.
So much to think about, so much to explore further. And for anyone listening out there, remember, you're not alone on this journey.
There's support available, there's hope to be found.
Keep seeking, keep growing. And thank you for joining us on this deep dive.